Good morning. This is Ace McWhite of Infinity Universal News to bring you the update about South China Sea conflict. The South China Sea has become one of the most volatile flashpoints in global geopolitics. Once primarily known as a vital trade route, it is now a region brimming with military installations, territorial disputes, and growing fears of a future conflict. The rising tensions here are drawing in powerful nations, threatening regional stability and global peace. At the heart of the issue lies the sheer strategic and economic importance of the South China Sea. This vast expanse of ocean, stretching over 1.3 million square miles, serves as a crucial maritime highway. Over $3 trillion in goods pass through its waters every year, making it one of the most significant trade routes in the world. It also holds vast potential in oil and natural gas reserves and supports rich fishing grounds that are vital to local economies. Control over this region not only grants economic power but also a strong military advantage. That's why so many countries, including China, the Philippines, Vietnam, Malaysia, and Brunei, have staked overlapping claims, turning the sea into a political and military chessboard. In recent years, China has dramatically expanded its presence in the South China Sea. This expansion is not just diplomatic or symbolic. It is physical and militaristic. China has reclaimed several shoals, reefs, and sandbars, transforming them into fortified artificial islands. On these islands, Beijing has constructed military-grade infrastructure, airstrips capable of handling fighter jets, radar systems, missile launchers, and hangars for bombers. This militarization extends beyond static defenses. China has deployed mobile surface-to-air missile systems, anti-ship cruise missiles, and regularly stations combat aircraft on these islands. These actions serve not only as a show of strength but as an implicit warning to rival claimants and global powers alike. China's claims are anchored in the controversial 9-dash line, an unofficial demarcation that encircles nearly the entire South China Sea. This line appears on Chinese maps, but is not recognized by international law. And in 2016, an international tribunal at The Hague ruled against the legitimacy of China's claims. Still, Beijing has rejected the ruling and continues to enforce its interpretation of sovereignty with an increasingly aggressive stance. What complicates matters further is that this 9-dash line overlaps with exclusive economic zones, EEZs, of other nations, particularly the Philippines and Vietnam. This overlapping claim has resulted in ongoing maritime skirmishes and political standoffs. In waters near the Second Thomas Shoal, tensions have become especially high. The shoal, claimed by the Philippines but patrolled by Chinese vessels, has been the site of repeated confrontations. The Chinese Coast Guard and Maritime Militia, a fleet of civilian boats operating under military command, have frequently blocked, rammed, and used water cannons against Filipino supply ships. These confrontations are not isolated. China has stepped up its maritime patrols, asserting dominance across contested waters. Meanwhile, other nations continue to conduct their own operations, often under threat of Chinese interference. The risk of a miscalculation, one that could spiral into an international crisis, is growing by the day. Amid escalating tensions, the United States has reaffirmed its presence and its commitment to defending the Philippines, a long-standing treaty ally. Through Freedom of Navigation Operations, FONOPs, U.S. warships regularly pass through contested waters to challenge China's territorial assertions and to reinforce international norms of free passage. Other global powers, such as Japan, Australia, and the United Kingdom, have joined the U.S. in denouncing China's actions and emphasizing the need to uphold international maritime law. Meanwhile, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN, struggles to present a unified front, as member states remain divided between economic ties with China and their own territorial concerns. Many experts fear that China's aggressive militarization could spark a broader arms race in Southeast Asia. Countries like Vietnam and the Philippines are now seeking to modernize their naval forces, while regional alliances are growing stronger in response to China's rise. The concern is not just about weapons, it's about escalation. The growing presence of military hardware and patrols in close quarters increases the chance of a mistake. A single miscommunication, a misfired missile, or an unintended collision could ignite a larger conflict involving global powers. Despite calls for peaceful dialogue, diplomatic progress has been limited. China has expressed interest in developing a code of conduct with ASEAN, but critics argue that such efforts are often stalled or watered down. At the same time, the militarization of disputed territories continues at a steady pace. The international community faces a difficult balancing act: how to confront unlawful claims and preserve peace without provoking conflict. Sanctions, summits, and maritime law enforcement may help, but without cooperation from all sides, especially China, a peaceful resolution remains uncertain. What's really at stake in the South China Sea goes beyond maps and missiles. At risk is the rule of international law, the freedom of the seas, and the sovereignty of smaller nations caught in the shadow of a rising superpower. It's also about the future of Asia-Pacific stability and, by extension, global peace. As the region becomes increasingly militarized and polarized, the choices made in the coming months and years could shape international relations for generations.
And that concludes our update on the South China Sea dispute. Thank you very much for watching. Again, this is Ace McWhite inviting you to subscribe, like, and most of all, we will be glad to hear your comments. Until the next one, good day.